JoySparklebS. If you can hear a fan in the background, I apologize. So it's a combination of the little dog Macy likes the fan on, but if you shut the door, she gets paranoid that she can't go in, so the fan's on in the other room in case she wants to come back and forth, but I can't shut the door or she starts to cry, even if nobody's in there. I'm not saying it makes sense. It's one of her little quirks, so sorry if it sounds loud. I apologize, but this video is another self-reflection video. You guys said you like these, and I've been in a really self-reflective mood, and I would rather honor that time and those thoughts and that processing than like force making videos today that I don't feel like doing. I guess I might, if you see me in this shirt and this hair, if you see me in this hair, women know what I'm talking about when I say that, like this hair. If you see me, it means I you know, muscled through or tried to film something else, but okay. So you guys know, obviously, because I've done 2 videos on it now, Shane Dawson has put out his series on Jake Paul and whether or not he's a narcissist or has, you know, sociopathic tendencies or any type of mental illness or behavioral disorders and that sort of thing. By the way, disclaimer, I'm not a counselor, psychotherapist. I'm a nobody professional. I'm just giving opinions. These are all opinions. There's no diagnosis. I'm just opinions. That's it. So, you guys probably heard me say this. I had no interest to watch this because I have no interest in the Paul brothers. To me, it's the same person. Like, I forget. It's Logan and Jake Paul. Last time I messed that up. I couldn't remember the guy's name, but to me, it's kind of the same person. I don't mean that to sound rude to either one of them. It's just, I'm not a tween. Like I said, it's not my thing. But oh my God, Shane, I'm not even that big a fan of Shane. I like Shane, but I've never been like a big super fan, but he has really earned my respect with the documentary he's doing on this. It's, I think it took a lot of balls. I think it's really courageous. And it's deep. And I think it's making everybody think. It's kind of shaking you at your core, you know? We've all known these people that just fuck you over and laugh about it. It's like, what's wrong with you? And I think Shane's exposing what a lot of that can be with people. The fact that like 1 in every 25 people, you know, is a narcissist or sociopath. I can't remember which one it was, but it was scary. I think it's sociopath. It's very, very scary. So, okay. Sorry, between my hair and this thing, my hair is like, there's still a lot of hair. It's really thick and it pulls back my hoodie so that I start getting shouts. But it made me think about something. It made me think about a lot of people in my life, which I talked about in the last video. And it's interesting because I don't know that in my life that I have any full-blown narcissists. Because the people in my life could feel empathy. They could, you know, they could feel those feelings. It's not like it wasn't there. It's not like it was 100% just a mask. But it made me question, and I've thought about this before. I think everybody can have tendencies of certain things. Like somebody could have aspects or certain things of a mental illness but not be diagnosed with that. Somebody could have aspects of narcissism or aspects of sociopathy but not 100% be that. Like, for instance, as great as Roommate is wonderful. And I don't want to say too much about him, but, and for people who don't know, Roommate equals boyfriend. I don't say his name, even though people have put him out there to hell and back. I have a fun conspiracy theory about Roommate, by the way, that Joe would came up with. You guys are going to love it, but I'll come up with soon. But in terms of Roommate, an issue that he's had that we've talked about is he can be very emotionless. Like, you know, and a lot of it we realized when we first met was because he felt stuck in his life. He was just kind of getting by. He had 1 more year of college to go and had to leave because of finances. And he was very ashamed, so he was just working a job he didn't like and thought he could never go back to school. When I came in his life, I was like, let me show you 10,000 different ways we can get you back in school. And so he was just very, like, emotionless. Like, there wasn't a lot of depth to his feelings at all. And it wasn't that they weren't there, but we've had several talks and stuff, and this is something we've talked about where he's going to go to therapy here soon. And it has nothing to do with me. It's for him. Because he realizes he's like, you know, he's Mexican. He's Mexican American. Is he? I mean, is that the term? Like, he's like, I think 3rd or 4th generation. It's not like he's came from anywhere, you know. Like, but. What was I saying? Oh, shit. He said in the culture he was raised in, men aren't allowed to have emotions. You just have to stuff it down. And that for him, it was kind of a learned trait. And it's not that emotions aren't there, it's just unless there's something extreme happening, there's just not a lot going on. And at first I thought he was just really calm all the time, and he's a calm, cool, collected dude, but that's also somewhat of a mask for how cut off he is. And this is something we've worked on in terms of like, I'm like, okay, tell me how you feel about stuff. You know, let me know. I'm never gonna be angry if you're honest with me, that sort of thing. So here's the thing. Him shutting off a lot of his emotions, that's a little bit of a narcissistic or sociopathic trait. Does that make him a sociopath? No, not at all. And that's the other thing. He also doesn't lack empathy. Fuck, I mean, look at everything he's done for me. Obviously, he doesn't lack empathy. But in certain situations, he can. Does that make him a narcissist or a sociopath? No, I think it makes him have traits. But I think that's everybody. I really do. I think most people do. And it's not always a bad thing to be selfish. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should have been more selfish on my other channel. I probably still have it. That's the truth. It's the truth of it. So these are just things I'm thinking about a lot. You know, I've been thinking in depth and in detail about. And I decided to talk about where I think I have and have had some narcissistic tendencies. Just stuff I've been thinking about, so I'll open up a little bit. It's probably a bad idea, but that's okay, just fuck it. Like, I'd rather, you know, I was gonna say I'd rather be honest with people, but there's a difference between honesty and privacy, and this may be getting a little bit into my privacy of my downtime and my processing time, but I'm choosing to share it. I'm choosing to share it. Maybe I'm oversharing, but fuck it. Let's do it. So, in many ways, from the time I was 8 years old, I was bred into some narcissism. I talked about my family dynamic. It wasn't just the family dynamic and my mother being a selfish fucking nasty baby boomer who can never be wrong and never take responsibility for anything, and it's everybody else's fault, and mentally, verbally, and sometimes physically abusive, and put us around those kind of people too. For me, there were two big components in my life that I think shaped some of these tendencies that I've worked really, really, really hard on. As much as I wanted to help people and I could have empathy because my mother wasn't very caring a lot, I could be that way with other people at times in weird ways. Like, my empathy could be shut off. And I think some of that just comes, like when I was a teen and in my mid-20s, and some of that comes from just needing to be humbled, you know, just the arrogance of being a child, you know, just, you don't, a lot of kids, if you're born into a decent situation, which even though mine wasn't perfect, you know, we had a house and food and stuff, so that was good. Yeah, but I think a lot of kids, you know, go through that because they just don't know your parents try to protect you from the hardships of the world to an extent. You know what I'm saying? So I don't totally fault myself for that, but there were a couple defining things, I think, aside from just bad parenting. So when I was 8 years old, I'll do a story time of this one day. I remember I heard Whitney Houston sing I Will Always Love You on the radio. I'd never sung before in my life, and I was like, that's it, I'm gonna be a singer. That's what I'm meant to do. I'd never really I didn't even know if I could sing. I just knew somewhere in me, I'm like, this is what I'm here to do. And I started practicing. I practiced all year in private, nobody knew about it. I practiced until we had our school talent show. And everybody told me, you're 8 years old, only the big kids get in, because I'm in second grade. You're never gonna do it, you're never gonna go, you're never gonna get it. And I got a spot. And I remember I went up there, it was so funny, I remember being 8 and I went on stage and I'm like, okay, I remember saying this to myself, either you're gonna do this or you're not gonna do it. Okay, I'll do it. My 8-year-old thought process. And I sang, and I was the only person to get a standing ovation. And my mom was floored, because there's two talent shows, there's one for the parents and the one for the auditorium. And my mom, I think if I remember correctly, I don't think she went to the parent one, she went to the auditorium one, and she was just like, oh my God. So after that, my mom was like, you're gonna be a superstar. You're gonna be a superstar. And that was the rise of my mom being a show parent. God, but it was an odd type of show parent, you know? I loved watching Toddlers and Tiaras because I related so much to everything I saw. I'm like, oh my God, I relate. So it was from then on, and I'm not gonna go too much into it, but my mom, you know, she was a show mom and performer parent, and I was very much indoctrinated into like, you're gonna be a star. And it really fucked with my mind. It really fucked with me psychologically, for many, many, many reasons. But I think the way that my mom dealt with that with me, I think that bred some narcissistic traits. Like, I had talent. It wasn't that I was like talentless in doing it, but I think that I could be at times arrogant and rude, and I didn't mean to be. And my mom, a lot of times, she encouraged these behaviors, almost like she thought it was cute. Like, one thing was, if I were acting a fool someplace, because I'm a really silly person, my mom and her white trash boyfriend, they wouldn't correct me on the behavior. They would encourage me making an ass out of myself because it was their entertainment. And we're not talking about kids just being silly. I mean, like, being mean and offensive. And I was a kid, I'm 8 years old. I didn't know, right? But I think that my mom becoming like a show mom, and it's weird because as much as I wanted to sing, she also pushed me to do it, but she kept me in this bubble. So, like, I'll do a whole story time about this one day, but she kept me in this bubble of like, I want you to be successful, but not too successful. Because if you're too successful, I can't brag about you the same way. I want you to be successful locally, where I can brag to friends about it. It was a weird thing, a really, really weird thing. And as much as I appreciate that she supported me with all of this, like I've said before, there was also a dark side of her pushing me to do things I wasn't comfortable with, or like, this is hard to think about, because I think if I had kids and I did this, I'd be pissed. Like, if I went to a competition and didn't get a perfect score on like a singing competition, like if I went to a solo singing competition, I didn't get a perfect score, or like a 1 rating or an A rating or whatever, I would be like punished. And the punishment was a month or 2 months of verbal abuse about it. And that's the thing, when you get older, you realize those competitions, a lot of times it's like, those are fucking college kids who are judging, and they don't always know what they're doing or the criteria. And I'm not saying that they're bad people or whatever. Like, I remember one time I was talking to one of my professors about this, and he goes, when I talked about, a couple, like there was twice where I didn't get like almost a perfect score. And I remember when we talked about it, he goes, I wouldn't judge one of this competition once, and I'll never do it again. I said, why? He goes, they didn't really explain the criteria, and I didn't realize that that I was really dealing with a bunch of like junior high or high school kids. I didn't really understand what I was doing, so I thought I was giving people really good ratings, and I was giving them bad ratings and not knowing it. And like, kids were having like really breaking down and crying, and I felt really bad afterward, and they wanted to change my scores, and they wouldn't let me. So, or like, I remember one time there was this woman who had a vendetta against, there was a woman who would judge who had a vendetta against the woman who ran the choir department at our school, so she'd give everybody lower ratings. Like, it was just really stupid political high school bullshit, literally high school bullshit. High school bullshit of high school bullshit. But I would get punished for not doing it perfectly, which is crazy to me. I can't imagine doing that to a kid, It was a strange dichotomy. But I think my mother pushing me and infusing me that you're gonna be a superstar, and celebrating and encouraging negative behaviors because me embarrassing myself was entertainment to her and her boyfriend, it really fucked with my head for a really, really long time. Really long time. So I'll tell you another story too, and again, I'll do a story time about this at some point, but the next thing was the New Age community. Oh my God, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I was a New Ager for a long time. A New Ager, a light worker, the indigo children. I've talked about this. Oh, it makes me cringe and drives me nuts. And here's the thing, there are still things I like about it. I like the idea of reincarnation. Does it exist? I don't fucking know, but I like the idea. I like the idea of heaven. Does it exist? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things, I like the idea that the majority of people, if not all people, are born, that we're all supposed to try to help each other and help the world. Like, I like those aspects about it, which I always have. I like the aspects of everybody's gifted and talented somewhere, that we're all intuitive in some degree. I like that stuff, right? But the New Age community, and I've laughed about this and I've joked about this, it's a lot of like, how do I put this? But I think this happens in all religions. I think the New Agers might be some of the worst at it though. there's a lot of talk about like empowerment, you know, empowering yourself, and you can do what you want. I love this. You can manifest what you want. Manifestation, transmutation. These are words they'd always talk about, right? And the problem is when you become a New Ager, or, you know, and I can't say become, because it's not like, I don't think there's any real religion for it. It's just this set of ideas and a kind of a community, a loose-based community of people, and no real community or church to go to. Does that make sense? It's just kind of a label you can slap on yourself. I'm a light worker. I work for the light and the truth and of God and everything. And I'm not knocking it. If that's what y'all like to do, that's fine. I'm just going to tell you the flip side to it. The flip side to having that realization that I'm beautiful because I exist. I deserve love because I am love and I come from love, and I think whatever God is love. These are just my opinions and the opinions of what I'm saying New Agers think. And the fact that I can create my own reality, and I am smarter and more capable than what I know, and I have genius, that we all have genius hidden inside of us somewhere. We have to access it. Not that I think I'm a genius. I'm just talking about the New Age philosophy. That thought process really breeds narcissistic behavior and narcissistic thought process of, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful. And that's why a lot of them become very preachy, and it's like, I'm trying to teach you something all the time. And I think I got a lot of that preachy side from the New Age stuff, which is why I cringe now thinking, God, I hope I'm not overly preachy. I don't want to do that. But that, I think, bred a lot of, not a lot, but I may say a lot, but I'm always really hard on myself. I think it bred certain narcissistic thought processes, you know? Like there's a thought process at times of like, don't feel bad if you can't help everyone and everything. Everybody's responsible for themselves and responsible for their situations, and some people sign up to go through awful things. And while I agree with that, that's also, I've seen this time and time again, and I've even done it with myself in my younger years, like my early mid-20s. That can also, though, be an excuse to shut off your empathy and not help a situation where you should. Does that make sense? So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I guess everything in life is a double-edged sword, right? But it's like a tightrope you have to walk. And oh God, the indigo children thing. Holy shit. Holy shit. Don't get me started. In fact, I befriended a woman who, really sweet lady who wrote some books about like indigo parenting. I think they did fairly well. And talking about breeding narcissists. And there's a lot that people don't know about that time. Because Repsion did nothing but very little information and speculation on what I did and what I thought. He doesn't really know. Like, I very quickly got disenchanted within the first year or two of all the New Age shit, and I realized it was a business, and I really didn't like it. We'll talk about this one day. There's a woman named Doreen Virtue who was like kind of at the helm of the New Age shit, and now she's a born-again Christian and denounces it all. I think she's a charlatan. We'll talk about it one day. But I just saw so much. They talk about having no ego, letting go of ego, and then the people who were leading the community were nothing but egotistical, money-hungry, business-hungry fucks. But being in that mindset and around those people, I think that I'm amazing, and now they say woke, right? But back then, I'm enlightened. Oh, that person's not as enlightened as I am, you know? It's like when Christians sit around going, that person's going to hell, and that person's going to hell. And those were the aspects that I walked away from, because I'm like, I don't like this doesn't jive with me. But that bred some narcissistic tendencies at the time. And then here's the funny thing, and they talked about this in the Shane Dawson documentary. They talked about trauma breeding narcissistic tendencies. And that's one of my later years I've had to really work on. In fact, I had an ex who, God love him, he taught me a lot. For both of our faults and flaws, I credit him with helping me become the person I am today, because he was the only one to sit me down and be like, listen, here's what you're doing and how you come across. When you go through trauma, I think it can breed narcissistic selfishness accidentally at times, because you're so hyper concerned with whatever the trauma was and what it bred. And for me, like, the trauma had to do with survival, you know, like not having any family, being sick, coming into a world where there aren't a whole lot of financial opportunities, you know, not like all of that, you know, all of that rhetoric, all of that stuff, right? And I think that what happened, like I remember my boyfriend telling me this, he's like, he would say like, Joy, it's like, you're the nicest person, but there's a part, you have this side of you that can be selfish in terms of like, if I'm going through something. He's like, and it's not that you don't care, and it's not that you don't have empathy. He's like, but I think that you are so overwhelmed and going through so much yourself, you can't handle anything else. You can't handle anybody's issues. And by the way, this is during the time I had PTSD. So it makes sense, right? But through that trauma, I was so hyper-focused on survival that it could make me turn off empathy sometimes to other people because I was such a mess inside myself. I couldn't handle whatever was happening with them. It wasn't intentional, but it was just a product and a side effect of, you know, having gone through a lot of stuff and not having a lot of support, and then having the people who were supposed to support you attack you, like what happened on the internet. It's so funny because my family coming on locale, I'm like, you have perfectly backed up everything I've said. 1 second, guys. There's my phone, okay. Hi, little ladies. Little ladies. Pretty little girls. Little girlies, yeah. Okay, sorry y'all, I'm back. That was a little sick break. By the way, I'm not bitching when I say that. It's okay. It's not like I'm gonna fall over. It's not like before. In fact, as weird as it sounds, as much as I don't like getting sick, a lot of times afterward I'm thankful because I'm like, it's so much better. It's getting better. It's getting better. And that's the focus, right? Okay, so I don't even know where I left off, to be honest. And I know this video is getting super, super long. Let's talk about trauma. So when you've gone through trauma, and especially when it's like some kind of survival trauma, I think, hello miss, hello. Sorry, I have little girls who are wanting my attention. That can breed narcissistic behavior because you're very focused on survival and you're focused on not having the trauma come back. And you can in turn have some selfish and behaviors that can lack empathy. Not all the time, but it can come up, especially if that, you know, trauma is triggered. So I just wanted to share some of that with you guys. I think I was telling the story, right, of the, you know, the guy and what he said, but yeah, so I think I'm gonna end the video here, well, soon, but I wanted to ask you guys, you know, what do you think about Shane Dawson's series? Have you seen it? And I know it's about the Paul brothers, but it's about so much more. I'm not a fan. I don't care about them. Go see it if you haven't seen it. It's really, really good. And what do you think? Like, you know, and be careful when you say this because I have a lot of crazy people that watch me, but you know, don't give out too much information about yourself. But you know, have you noticed that you have tendencies on stuff? And I'm gonna end the video with what I said last time, which is I think it's all about being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses and what you need to work on. And that sometimes, especially like, ow, itchy nose. I haven't had an itchy nose last in a couple videos. Or have I? I can't remember. And sometimes, you know, we get bad behaviors and they become habits and it can take a while to break. And sometimes you can't force that. The best thing, hi sweetie, the best thing to do is to just try to be aware of it. Just do your best to be aware of it, and little by little you will chisel away at whatever that habit or behavior is that you want to fix and correct. And sometimes you can't fix things overnight, but some of the things I'm talking about took years of work to get down. And then I felt like I got it down. And do you know how sometimes it's like you can fix something, but then you're tested on a deeper level? Coming on YouTube tested all my weaknesses on a deep level, if that makes sense, and brought them all to the surface. So I got a deeper level of, I think, strength and self-awareness and understanding. I hope. I try. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to talk about these things and see what you guys think. So what do you think? Am I a narcissist? My haters sure think I'm a narcissist and a sociopath. It's weird. As dumb as they think I am, they also think I'm the most smartest, mind-controlling cult leader. It's really funny to watch them like argue both points against one another back and forth for who I am. It's always very interesting with them. I don't know, maybe I should do a video of all their hypocrisies about it. It could be fun. Like them being like, she's like, I don't know, she stubbed her toe. She was offending people with toe problems, and then them making fun of people being in wheelchairs. Oh God, it's a mess. It's a mess. These fucking people. But anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. Please leave a comment for every comment you leave. I try to respond to all the comments within the first couple hours. As you guys know, when I post videos every day between 1 and 2, like I said before, Central Time. Please like the video. Everything helps me in the algorithm, and I super, super appreciate any help I get, as well as, what else am I trying to say? My brain's going blank. Okay, what's the other one? Subscribe. I don't know if anybody knew was going to be here, but because this is more for just the subs I have now, but please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and check every day between 1 and 2 p.m. is when I post videos. So that's it. Thank you for all the love and support. I will be happy to read your comments. I'm excited to read them. What do you think? Am I a narcissist? Do we all have narcissistic tendencies? Tell me what you think in the comments, because I'm curious. Okay. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See you soon. Mwah. Goodbye.